Okay, now let's talk about the first. So just write down two, three lines. National security is about. National security is about. National security is about the free will of the government. National security is about the free will of the government, free will of the government to take its own decision. National security is about free will of the government to take its own decision, to take its own decision, and to maintain and to maintain and to maintain security and sovereignty of the nation, and to maintain security and sovereignty of the nation, and to maintain security and sovereignty of the nation. Full stop. Here it also means territorial integrity. Here it also means territorial integrity. Territorial integrity. Territorial integrity. So we have two levels of security. One is, abhi aapko, you'll get the handouts. They are printed, but we just have to receive them. So you'll get handouts. Online students also, you'll get handouts. So some things I'll explain, you will write it, but the detailed notes you will get in the form of handout, because it is a topic which is more about understanding and it requires practice in terms of writing. That is what is needed. Okay. So and national security can be divided into two parts. One is the internal security. Another is called external security. Internal security is within the nation. Within the nation. Now, many times it is very difficult to say this is internal security, external security, because the boundary is very blur. But within the nation, and here Ministry of Home in India is responsible to. Ministry of Home in India is responsible. Okay. External security is outside India, and Ministry of Defense is responsible here. Okay. Everything clear till here? You can interject in between if you feel there's anything which you're not able to understand. अगर आपको कहीं समझ ना आए तो आप मुझे बताइएगा. And I want you to link around yourself, see around yourself, observe around yourself. UPSC, a lot of preparation for UPSC is about observing things. For example, why there is this problem? How police operates? What if there is no policing? Imagine a situation, there is no policing. There are no traffic police people. There are no normal police people in society. So how will it change the dynamics of society? Huh? How will it change the dynamics of society? Police nahi hoga to kya hoga? Huh? What will happen if there is no police? Chaos. Law and order is the most basic function of society, or for that matter, state. Most basic function. Most basic function. Without law and order, and second is revenue collection. Without law and order and revenue collection, state cannot run. Just imagine law and order is not there. believe me, nothing can prosper. If you want to see, if there is no law and order, go in the area where there is civil wars going on. Go in the areas where unrest is going on. Okay? So it is very important that we are ensuring the law and order. So this is internal security and this is external security. Now, what are the attributes of external security? For example, if I talk about India, externally we are facing challenges. So we have India ke paas, we don't have to create problems. There are problems sitting outside India. For example, we have hostile neighbors. And why they are hostile? There is some reason behind it. Now, Pakistan is hostile right from day one. And the reason is known to them. They believe that they have some legitimate demands which we believe are illegitimate. And that has been the source of conflict since the beginning. The messy partition which happened. In fact, not only Pakistan, the same is true to an extent from Bangladesh, which is again was part of Pakistan. These countries, whether, Pakistan or Bangladesh or Nepal or Bhutan or Sri Lanka or Maldives or Myanmar, all these countries have their own share of problems also. And because these problems are there is also a feeling that we are kind of interfering in their issues. So there is a big brother attitude. That is what they believe. We don't believe that way. We believe that we have neighborhood first policy. But these hostile neighbors, because they're anti-state people in those countries who have problem with India. A very good example is we have disputes with nations. For example, border dispute with Pakistan, with China. We had similar dispute with Bangladesh also, which we resolved. Similarly, we have some kind of dispute with Sri Lanka also, international waters. We have ethnic disputes. So we have a lot of disputes, but most of these neighbors are very hostile. Many of them, especially broadly, there are two neighbors who are creating problems in India. That is China and Pakistan. Other nations also have varying degree of hostility. Sometimes they'll come close, sometimes they get influence. So that hostility will create problems outside and that will create repercussion inside. Because for that we have to create resources. Abhi hame policing strong karna hoga, military strong karna hoga. So hostile neighbors the first. Maritime security. Indian subcontinent. It is called subcontinent. Indian peninsula is called subcontinent. It's like a mini continent. And we have the peninsular part of India is surrounded by water. And water that is thousands of kilometers. That is guarded. But we can't guard every inch of that border, right? The coastal border. And that creates maritime security. Recently, few days ago, there was some kind of intelligence report stating that some boats were found, in the areas of Arabian Sea. In 26/11, yahi to hua tha. There are people, terrorists came on boat, and nobody was even aware of. Okay, they sneaked in India and created havoc in the country. Cyber threat. We don't have to do anything. Sit outside and create challenges for India. Sitting outside. Militarization of space. Now we don't have to worry about. You can put a missile system in space. You can put a missile system in space. And that can create problems for the whole world. Cross-border threat. Whether it is terrorism. Though terrorism might be internal, but it has external aspect. Let's talk about global terrorism. Today, the terrorism is not coming from one nation. It is globally interconnected. China, Pakistan exists. Again, it is a part of the hostility in terms of neighbors. These two are close friends and they create problems for India. China has clear-cut strategy. China says that we do not want India to grow. Because they feel that only country which can threaten China's existence in future is India. Only country which can come close to, of course we cannot match China, but any country which can come close to China is India. They are not fearful of any other nations. Maybe America is on the declining phase. Sabka samay aata hai, apna time aayega. So China feels that ab unka time aa gaya hai. The only feeling they have that, but China has its own set of internal contradictions. It is not a democracy, such a big country. India, on the contrary, irrespective of problems we have, we are surviving. We have our own internal contradictions. We have problems of, caste issues, class issues, development, unhappiness. But we have ways in which we are able to handle them. And we are strengthening ourselves since independence. When India India became independent in 1947, and if you read some very important books, for example, there's a book by Ramchand Guha, India After Gandhi. And that book mentions that India's epitaph was written every year, epitaph. Epitaph is, you know what epitaph is? Have you seen a grave? On the grave, there lived a person who loved his family and, was happy, blah, blah, blah. On a gravestone, some good words are written about the person who is no more, right? That is called epitaph. So they used to write epitaph of India every few years. The external political scientists, they said India cannot survive. It's a country of internal contradictions. There's a difference of language, there are caste problems, there are issues of, lack of development, people are unhappy, people are not educated. And because people are not unhappy and educated, the democracy cannot survive. Opposite happened. We survived. It is not the poor, it is not the rich who is hopeful of India, it is the poor who is hopeful of India. It is the poor who is aspirational, who looks at state, believing that state government will help us. In fact, rich, the people who are more educated, they are more critical of India. They do not, even though their contribution could be there in whatever way we can say, but they are less critical of India. They have less hopeful for future. Things have changed today now. When Gandhi died, these political scientists in the West world, they almost believed India gaya. India is gone now. Within few days, a matter of 1 or 2 days, we were able to create a consensus leadership. And within 2 years, that person actually, reached to the hearts of the people. Unfortunately, he died. I'm talking about the second Prime Minister of India. And the transition of the power was done so smoothly that, political scientists were amazed. They were surprised. Within India, outside India. Indira Gandhi came as the next Prime Minister. We have our own internal contradictions in terms of maybe phases of maybe emergency in the interim period in India. But overall, we were able to strengthen. We have our own problems of, the riots, the communal issues are there, border disputes are there, interstate disputes are there. But these issues, when the national issues come up, these issues become smaller. People tend to unite. And that is the strength of India. Okay? Development in Middle East. Now, security is a very wide concept. One concept is called energy security. Energy security is very paramount for development. A country like India, which is growing, emerging. Today, an article came in Hindu by C. Rangarajan, and he's saying that if India wants to become a developed country by 2047, you have to have a growth rate of 8 to 9%. And it is achievable. Difficult, but achievable. A developed country, how do you define a developed country? A developed country is a country where average income of the population is more than $12,000 annually. So we will become developed when an average Indian is able to earn $12,000 annually, which means $1,000 monthly. $1,000 amount means if we are able to earn 80,000 rupees monthly, and an average Indian, of course, then we will call as developed nation. So the point I want to make here is that is the agenda and target we have. So this Amrit Kal of 75 years, by the time we celebrate our 100th anniversary of independence, by that time we want to become developed. It is, of course, not easy, but yes, it is possible. Okay? So energy security is paramount here. Today we are facing a lot of challenges. The oil prices fluctuate. We have to depend on multiple countries. A growing population has growing demand. 8-9% growth rate would require at least 12-13% of energy growth every year. That means we have to produce sources of extra energy. We have to create more energy in terms of power, electricity. We have to create more fossil fuel for ourselves. Because if the country will grow, people's average income will grow, their energy consumption will grow. your quality of life will improve if your income improves. So you will be consuming more energy, right? You'll have better house, which is air conditioned. You'll have better car, which is air conditioned. You will have better quality of life, which will energy intensive, and that is normal. But here there is a problem of dependency in terms of, and that is why today we are having national biofuel policy. We are looking at renewable sources. So that also is creating challenges of external security, especially what is happening in Middle East. Middle East is very turbulent. ऊपर नीचे चलता रहता है. They have their own internal problems, and that creates instability in the supply of the energy and oil across the world. And we are dependent on that. We can't change that. India में कोई सामान महंगा इसलिए हो जाता है because we do not have free fuel, cheap fuel coming from outside, and the value fluctuates. Today the per barrel oil is $100. $100 is the per barrel oil, crude oil. And in April 2020, it was $25 per barrel. Normally 50, 55, 60, 70, 75, okay. But anything if it crosses 75, 80, it creates burden on us. Everything is costly. If fuel is costly, everything is costly. Think of your life. Think of your life without fuel. Imagine life without fuel. Possible hai. Possible hai. So there is a energy security is very important. So we have to understand that, and we have to make effort to attain that energy security aspect. Then coming to the internal security threats. So if I talk about internal security problems, we are discussing internal security, which means there are problems in internal security. So what are the problems? I said the biggest problem is lack of development. The biggest problem is the offshoots of lack of development. Okay. For example, naxalism. So naxalism is nothing but it is an example of development deficit. Kal discuss karenge naxalism ko. Why some people have problem with India? And these are Indians only. Okay. Organized crime. It is flourishing. It is increasing. It has deep roots. Educated people. They are running crime in a very organized manner, like a company, like a corporate. It is not only in India, across the world it is there, but it is there. Coastal security. So we have a huge border, the coastal border, and we have security concerns here. Let's go little outside. Go little up in the Arabian Sea, you will find there are issues of piracy. The coast, the pirates are there. You must have heard about the pirates. The sea lines of communication. Sea lines of communication. So if I have to bring something from outside, through 95% of all trade happens through sea. 95%. And if the sea lines are not secure, how will things happen? So here Coast Guard, Marine Police, Navy have to take care. But we have a limit. We can't go into Pacific Ocean or deep, Indian Ocean to secure ourselves. Around many coastal areas or many areas, you will find the pirates who are operating. And you need support here. And of course, strength here. So the coastal security is very important today. The internet that you are using, 95% of internet in the world, it is because of seawater. Under seawater cables are there. Under seawater cables, 95% of the internet. Imagine somebody disturbs it. The whole development will get impacted. Am I right? Can you imagine a life without internet today? No. Can you imagine a life without mobile today? No. अभी मैं क्लास में आप सब लोग का मोबाइल कलेक्ट कर लूं. If I collect, you will feel, अरे sir. Right? Okay. Insurgency at the border of Northeast. Insurgency is a big problem. We'll understand this. We'll cover one topic for the insurgency only. In Northeast region, you must have heard about Nagaland. Nagaland has been in the state of turmoil since independence. Very small, very small area. But it is a big problem for India. Things are much better than what they were in 40s or 50s or 60s or 70s or 80s, but still the problem is there. There are armed groups who are running parallel government in Nagaland. There is no rule of law. Imagine a life where wherever you move, there are, police or military guarding the area, checking you, are you okay or not? Imagine. So can you do your business properly? No. Can you run your, can you go to school properly? No. There'll always be a sense of fear and insecurity in your mind, which means there is no rule of law in these areas. Same is true about Manipur. So insurgency in Northeast has its own history. There are other states also like Mizoram, Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, Meghalaya. These states also had its own problem, even Sikkim. But inka problem resolve ho gaya. The problem has almost resolved. Terrorism. Now there is no perfect definition of terrorism, but terrorism has actually impacted us, especially a country like India. And most of these terrorism is, of course, an external state supported. For some country, it is an ideological tool to disturb India. And we are witnessing. And globally, this world problem it's a global problem. It is not an individual problem. Till 80s or till 90s, when we highlighted the problems of terrorism, when we said to the world, look at this problem, we are facing the brunt of this problem. Nobody listened to us. But today, after 9/11, things change. There are lone wolf attacks happening in France, in European nations. Happening, right? I'm unhappy and I pick a gun and start shooting people. I take a truck and drive through where some procession or some group event is going on. So unlikely. You're not even mentally, you're not secure. There is fear. Indians have no paranoia. Indians, on the contrary, are very, acceptable people. Very strong, resilient. हम लोग अंदर से हमारा strength बहुत strong है. But West has not seen such historical things, and they are very unhappy. And today they are also facing the brunt of that terrorism, because terrorism has offshoots globally, whether it is radicalization of some people or some other. Then money laundering, illegal money. Money laundering is converting, as I mentioned, black money to white money, and that money is coming from illegitimate sources: drug trafficking, human trafficking, maybe doing some corruption activity, doing some activity even from terrorism, that money might come. Okay? Drug trafficking, cyber security. Now today we are witnessing cyber security. This is one of the most gravest threat. And the problem with this cyber security is that you can't define a space to it. Controlling cyber security will require constant upgradation of effort. We do not have a policy also. Our police are not equipped. We have a traditional police force who are lathi wielding police force. How they will counter the cyber security? Very difficult. We do not have institutional mechanism right from central government till state government. We are working on that, but it is a grave problem. Somebody breaches your mobile. Somebody spies on your information, on your data. Somebody uses that data against you. It starts from individual level and goes to the state level. So cyber security is a big challenge. I will require 3-4 hours just to cover cyber security. Then, so all these are there. There are other problems also. I can add more problems in this list. But these are broader issues of internal security threat. Now, when you look at these threats, you feel like, array, life is so tough. How will you survive? Believe me, we are doing good work. But, in order to create problem, the people who are against or who are maybe stakeholders in these issues, they just require one success. And security forces have to be constantly on their toes to put effort. There are thousands and lakhs of people who are constantly working day in, day out, just to ensure that these things do not go out of hand. As we speak, there are lakhs of people, state government, policing, intelligence agencies, IBs, RAW, everybody, they're working round the clock just to make sure that you are happy. But still there are problems. Today we are living a new era, and that era is called an era of hybrid warfare. Technology, there are a number of things. You don't have to, put a gun to disturb people. You can just do it at the click of the mouse. Social media. Social media today has become a bane as well as boon as well as bane. Okay? Are you getting understanding?